Sansa has fled to the Godswood, and when she removes her hairnet, she notices that one of the black amethysts is missing. Dontos told her she must wear it for the wedding feast, but she now remembers that the amethysts are from Asshai and that Dontos called the hairnet magic. Dontos then appears in the Godswood, and Sansa accuses him of murdering the king by using one of the amethysts. Dontos denies it, telling her Tyrion had already been arrested for poisoning the king. She dresses under a heavy cloak, and Dontos leads her to a secret stairway down to the river. They are rowed out to a ship, and Sansa is shocked to find Littlefinger on board. When Dontos calls for his reward of 10,000 gold dragons, Littlefinger commands Lothor Brune to kill the drunk. Littlefinger explains to her that the fool sold her for a promise of gold, and once he drank that up, he would sell her whereabouts to the queen for more gold. He revealed that it was he who wrote the note so long ago, asking her to go to the Godswood. Littlefinger also planned for the dwarf jousters at the wedding, and Sansa asks him why he should wish Joffrey dead. Littlefinger responds, "I had no motive. As always, keep your foes confused. Sometimes the best way to baffle them is to make moves that have no purpose. Remember that when you come to play the Game of Thrones." He claims he had her mother's maidenhood and tells her that she could have been his daughter. He and Catelyn wed, and therefore he must look out for Sansa.
Which is deranged
Real
logic
weird
there at the end. And honestly, this is one of the cooler, well, maybe not cooler, but more interesting things about the chapter is that Littlefinger is clearly lying here, right? He did not take Catelyn's maidenhood. We're pretty sure about that. So it makes you wonder, everything he's saying here, is he lying about that as well? Did he actually send the first letter? A decent question to ask, right?
Don't some people think that he actually thinks he did take it, but it was Liza who tricked him?
Yeah, there's definitely that. I don't understand how he wouldn't know though. Like, come on,
Right.
Now maybe he's so delusional that he does believe it. Maybe he's like actually deluded himself. But let's also just think about it for a second. First time reading this, let's say it's 2000 when it's come out, 2004, 2003. Imagine the shock after this big, massive event with Joffrey, right? And then you realize who's on the boat. Like, that would have been so shocking had you read that at the time. No show info. You know what I mean?
Well, plus you'd just gotten past the Red Wedding. Like,
Yeah.
you've finished the Red, like when you read the Red Wedding, like it's this is all stuff that I saw in the show for the first time before reading it in the books. And I remember that moment being like, oh my God. Like,
Oh, yeah.
because it's just like the twists and turns and everything that the show goes. And if I'm trying to remember correctly, I don't think there's somebody else on the boat. If I remember correctly, I think it's Baelish who just kills. Maybe I'll try to pull it up here and see. But I think
cracking a cold one for
it's one of those. It's one of those ones you didn't like, right? Still from last week.
Yeah, we were talking about it. So I said, well, maybe I'll try it again. Honestly, might be growing on me a little bit. I know.
Yeah, I think it is. I'm looking it up. I think Baelish is the one who just kills Dontos. I don't think there's somebody else. I don't think there's somebody else on the boat. But regardless, it is such an interesting turn, because think about where you go in just a few short chapters. Everything seems, there's definitely mystery and things don't feel right as you're heading towards the Red Wedding. You get there. Oh my God, we've lost. Everything is over for the Starks. Robb is dead. And like Sansa's married to Tyrion and everything. And then boom, Purple Wedding. What? And then you get to this chapter, Fallout of the Purple Wedding. You're still like reeling and just like, oh my God, is Sansa going to be in trouble? Are they going to capture her? Are they going to kill her? What are they going to do? And then the next thing you know, it's Baelish who's sitting back there. And it just goes to show you the brilliance of George, how all of these pieces matter. And then you really start thinking about all the pieces that Baelish has probably moved. We talked last week about, a lot of people who really put the debt on the crown, who really put the crown into debt. Was it Littlefinger? He was the master of coin, allowing for this. Ned Stark calls him out on it. How did you let this happen? And he's like, well, it's Robert Baratheon. What do you want me to do?
Keep your motives unknown, right? Got to keep them guessing. And also, let's just say, we're talking about everything that's happened just in 2 chapters now. Like I said, we celebrate Joffrey. Yes, he's dead. What? Tyrion's arrested. What? Sansa's now being abducted by Littlefinger. It's like, oh my God, dude, there's so much is happening. Just tit for tat.
Yeah, I'm gonna look up the chapters here just to see, because it's hard to remember when you actually can look at the chapter list. So let's see. So Catelyn 7. Is that where we're at? Yeah. So Catelyn 7 was the Red Wedding. So that was chapter 51. This is chapter 61. So in 10 chapters, look at how much has happened. And so, they have like a Daenerys chapter in there and a Bran chapter, and like the Bran and Jon chapter. But really, I mean, it's like Arya, you get to fall out of the Red Wedding, then you get Tyrion, then you go to Davos, so George has kind of moved some of this stuff in here a little bit. But really, I mean, if you were just kind of like following maybe not a POV read, but even just kind of like a certain region read, like I want to know everything that's going on at King's Landing. It's like, oh my God, this stuff's all moving so fast.
Yeah, dude. It's not only is it moving fast, but everything's rapidly changing too in our kind of perspectives on people. I think one of the things that's very important to note here, by the way, is that this is, of course, Littlefinger had plenty to do with Ned Stark's demise. We know that, right? But this is him being outright violent with power, right? Ordering someone to kill someone. This is not just simply him scheming a little bit. Whoopsie daisy, Ned Stark got beheaded. This is him ordering a man to be murdered. I mean, this is frightening. And then you get this weird dynamic of him pretending to be Sansa's like father or something, but also treating her like an interest. It's just Littlefinger's entire character almost takes a turn here. I wouldn't, maybe not a turn, but it's revealed more so that he is
Right.
very dangerous.
Yeah, and actually if you look at the parallel of what's happening to Sansa right now and how much it actually parallels Arya, right? I mean, both of them are at like weddings that go wrong, that they basically have to leave like immediately, right? They both have to essentially flee for fear of being caught and kidnapped and or killed, really.
Yeah.
Almost like identical. It's just you just don't really think about them as part of it. You usually think of the Red Wedding and the Purple Wedding. You're thinking more of the ramifications of both of the events, but they both kind of go into that similar path, and then they both actually have to take on different identities. Arya is going to head to Bravos and take on all kinds of different identities. No one really, and Sansa is now going to become a Lane Stone.
Yeah, in a totally new location that feels very foreign to her. And will lose another family member that very, very soon by the end of this book. Yeah, Littlefinger really just has a coming out party in this book, doesn't he? He's kind of in the background. He's a fool, and then boom, he's a player.
Yeah, and then we move into. I mean, then there's still quite a bit to go for Littlefinger in this book. I mean, he's going to kill Lysa Arryn. I mean, he is making moves. He makes massive moves in this book, really, and a lot of it is behind the scenes and in the shadows. I think I get much more of Varys in this book with like the Tyrion chapters, and we're going to get quite a bit more Varys here in the next few chapters as we go through the Tyrion chapters and going in the tunnels and killing Tywin and all of that. But I mean, Littlefinger is still there making big moves, conspiring with people. I mean, and every move he makes, when you really sit down and look at it, causes massive chaos in the realm.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, he's really the one you could argue, convincing Ned Stark of, oh, here's all the things that's going on, like the dagger, and Catelyn then kind of believes him. Okay, we're gonna go get Tyrion Lannister, kicks off the war. Really, kind of kicks off the War of Five Kings. A lot of it kind of moves after Ned Stark's beheaded, but that really does kind of at least start it. And that's really like, if you want to say like the first incident of it, the first stone that was cast. Then here, I mean, now he's just helped kill Joffrey, helped kill the king and thrown the realm into even more chaos. And he can sit back after two more Sansa chapters, which is, I think there's one more and then the final chapter of the book that's before the epilogue. I don't know, does this book have an epilogue? I always forget.
Yes.
Yeah, but I think she's the last chapter before the epilogue where and then now he's killed Lysa Arryn, and him and Sansa basically take the veil, and he's going to sit back with an army and caused all this chaos. I think that's really what he's doing, is he's just like, hey, I have an army of the veil. Let everybody else just fight it out, and I can just come in at the end and just take over. I mean, really, if it weren't for young Griff, and Daenerys, which I mean, I think a lot of people in Westeros might think like, kind of, we as the reader know, obviously they're coming, it's going to happen.
Right.
But like Littlefinger's plan and scheme, I don't think anybody's going to count for either of those people actually showing up with armies. He might have pulled it up. He might
Well, we don't know.
He might have pulled it off.
Well, he might have information about young Griff. But we've talked about maybe
And
the fact that Sansa is going to end up with young Griff.
Right, but it's kind of interesting because I doubt that was part of his. Maybe he does.
Like we just don't know.
Well, maybe he's spied more on Varys than Varys realizes.
Yeah, or maybe they're somewhat on the same page.
On the same page. That would be real interesting.
Yeah. So Baelish is very different in the books, obviously, and we've talked about how the end will be different. One thing that I wanted to go to, Matt, we talked about last week, and you posted a video, like a kind of a section of what we talked about. And it was about Tyrion maybe being the victim of the poisoning, and then ends up being Joffrey. I said no, and I think I gave some pretty valid reasons. However, the more I thought about it this week, I think there's a lot more credence to that theory than I thought so before, because I think Olenna Tyrell most likely had plans to make Joffrey behave. I don't know if she necessarily had to have him murdered. And on top of that, I kind of looked at it as in the Tyrells doing the most devious thing to get what they want. But we do know that Sansa marrying one of Olenna's grandsons was kind of on the table, right? Like that was
Willis.
Yeah, Willis. So a good way of doing that is to get Tyrion accused or kill him rather, and then send Sansa to Highgarden.
Yeah, to be like, we'll take this problem off.
Right. So I actually think that there is a decent amount of motivation for the Tyrells maybe to want Tyrion out of the picture. On top of the fact that I think they're very aware that Tyrion is very capable, and Tyrion expresses distrust in the Tyrells. And I think it's in this book. So, and also to kind of argue for this theory, I was also thinking about the fact that you really can't guarantee that Marjorie ends up with Tommen. Like that's not a guarantee. That's a variable, especially with how much Cersei doesn't trust them. So to me, I guess what I'm saying is I'm not saying that the theory is necessarily the truth, but the more I think about it, the more I'm like, that actually does have legs.
Yeah, and the show never touches on this, but we also never see like why does Baelish, like clearly Baelish and Olenna Tyrell scheme this thing together. But what's the like nobody ever talks about like what was the pact? What was the agreement? How did that come about? Whether it was to kill Tyrion, like theory wise or not, just in general, I don't think that's a question it's never answered in the book. The show certainly never answered it because they just go off in different directions.
Well,
look, I mean, look at the pieces that move around. So on one hand, you could say, well, Baelish is like, hey, I can save Sansa from this and I can get her and I can do what I want with her.
Yeah.
So let's get rid of we'll just look at it at face value here with just getting rid of Joffrey. Like, why does it make sense for Baelish to kill Joffrey on Olenna's behalf for Olenna?
Well,
what is I mean, like if you're Olenna Tyrell, then clearly you're just like, okay, we just want Joffrey gone. So let's just go down that route. But how does that conversation start? And what is she just says, okay, and then we'll escort Sansa and you can have her.
Well,
that's kind of Baelish giving up a lot of cards.
Yeah, but only that, but like
unless he betrays her.
Olenna Tyrell also would then be giving up Sansa, which I think she wants to use Sansa or get her out of the way and get her beheaded along with Tyrion. Like that's totally possible. But here's something to think about. So if Peter Baelish did have anything to do with getting that dagger into that room to kill Bran, even if it was to get Joffrey an opportunity to get that, you would think Baelish might actually want Tyrion to die, because Tyrion knows that he lost that dagger.
And Tyrion is beginning to look and think about that dagger quite a lot, which is also dropped, and that's something that would likely come back up in Winds if we ever see it. I mean, he spends like 3 chapters thinking about it, and then it ultimately goes nowhere because Joffrey dies, unless it was just George being like, well, here's the answer to that question. And
Yeah, and
that's all we ever think about it. But I think because the dagger is going to come back to play. I mean, in the show it obviously does, and now with all the stuff they added in House of the Dragon and it being the Song of Ice and Fire and the prophecy, and we at least know
George has hinted about this before in interviews,
right?
too,
And George clearly was involved in House of the Dragon season 1. I'm sure that was a George decision.
Yeah, he said in an interview in like 2016. I mean, that was definitely them running with George's little hint. I believe we know that Aegon's idea of the prophecy is like pretty much from George, but the show is the ones who kind of like chose to do, what to do with it in House of the Dragon from what we know. So see, I don't know though. Like Baelish is also really hard to pin down because we don't know what he's telling the truth about. He says he organized the jousters, the dwarf jousters, which he could have, by the way.
He's the master coin.
He could have.
That makes sense. That doesn't.
Let's give him that. But like, you know, he's trying to kind of like take the credit for poisoning Joffrey, but like it very well could be that that's not the case at all. You know what I mean? Like Littlefinger could just be injecting himself into the situation.
Right.
So it's just hard to tell when he's telling the truth and how much of the truth is he telling.
Yeah. Now I'm trying to think. I don't think technically in the books we know that Olenna was actually the one to point like that. I think that's obviously in the show she tells Jaime.
Yeah.
And I think everyone just looks at that conversation where she tells and it's like, okay. And then you look at the pieces and that does make sense. But technically, we don't know what that conversation between Olenna and Baelish would have been like, because clearly they conspired together. So did Baelish like double cross her? Right? Was the plan to get Sansa married to Willis? Was the plan to, because even if Tyrion gets arrested and sent off, then okay. You know, Tyrion, like Baelish still wins, but clearly he could have like stolen her and that wasn't against it. He kind of moved against it. Or they still might have a plan coming into like Winds of Winter of some sort of an agreement, some sort of an alliance that they may have planned, but Baelish, my guess, is still sitting back double crossing because he sees the Tyrells might get wiped out in the Sept of Baelor, or we don't know what all those pieces are. God, we really need a Peter Baelish monologue like
Varys
has. like Varys has at the end of Dance of Dragons. Like we really need a Baelish monologue, like something to that level to understand that. I still say the worst, like even like the thing I am most upset about in Game of Thrones is his death. Most upset.
There's a lot of things to be upset about, but
I'm more upset about Baelish's death than like season 8 because there was so much good build up for it, and that was when I really saw like season 6 I felt good about, but season 7 I was like, uh-oh. I mean, I remember watching this like Sansa, Arya, Baelish stuff at Winterfell, being like, especially knowing that they're like way past the books at that point, just being like, uh-oh. I kind of feel like they don't know what to do with these characters.
Yeah.
Oh, and then what we didn't really get anything from it other than just Sansa and Arya unite. It was like a 3 episode arc.
Yeah. I mean, and also felt very fan servicey in many ways.
Yeah, there has to be much more to it. There needs to be it's going to be way bigger in the books because he's too important. He's too big of a player. And George has hinted way too much, as we'll see in these Jaime chapters coming up and this in the next book, when he thinks of Baelish and he's like, just kind of dismisses him. Like, you should not dismiss Peter Baelish.
Yeah. And you can't, and not to mention, again, he's very dangerous now. We know this, at least in the books, right? I'm just trying to think through this whole thing, and I don't think that there's any like 110% confirmed in the books that we know who did it. I think the Olenna Tyrell thing does also make a good amount of sense. I think that you could argue that the target was Tyrion. I think that that's a valid argument that you could make. But also, there's a chance that Baelish is the one that helps secure the poison. I mean, he is the master of coin, and this is like the Strangler is kind of rare. At least that's what I've gathered. So, is there a chance that Baelish went to Lena Tyrell, said maybe we can help each other out? Did she act alone? Did she have anything to do with it? Like, so many angles to this thing, dude.
Yeah. Let me read. I'm going to read some of the quotes and comments and some lines here. So, this is Sansa's escape chapter. Sansa felt as though she were in a dream. Joffrey is dead, she told the trees, to see if that would wake her. Like she wanted this to happen for so long. All of these feelings and emotions that were like, just deep inside of her, they come out to like hysterical laughter, tears of joy. Essentially, right? She's like, she's thinking about like, God, I'm sad. It's like the first time she's like crying from happiness. And then you have the poison, it's believed to be amethysts. It's black amethysts are from Asshai. One of them is missing. There's no amethyst, are they? You lied. There was murder in them. And it's just one of these things in this chapter where she's thinking about like be brave, she tells herself, be brave like a lady in a song. And this really is her kind of metamorphosis. And then I think it ends so well with Baelish saying, hey, we're going to play the Game of Thrones. And really, I mean, she sees some other things. She gets some stuff out of a song here. It's a dark song, shadows and Asshai and poison. And, those are some of the things you would hear about in your songs. And you see like this dark river, and she's literally and she quite literally is on a dark path. Right. And it is very much not the bright, sunny path she's thought, but we see her like crying tears of joy as she's heading down this dark path. It's very like metaphoric.
Yeah, it is.
and interesting. And just like the way George is doing this.
Yeah. And George is always giving us something to kind of lead us down the trail of where the character is going to go. Like we see it all the time, whether it's a description or a location or who they're conversating with. There's always some sort of breadcrumb to make you think about where they're going to be. And that's why rereading is so fun. I mean, the hints are always there. Yeah,
I found this interesting too. Somebody pointed this out on the reread subreddit. Somebody said both Sansa and Tyrion are actually carrying away deadly poison in their pockets. So here we see that she heard a faint rustle of leaves and stuffed the silver hairnet down deep in the pocket of her cloak. And then later, when Tyrion is in Illyrio's group and company, I think this is in Dance of Dragons, as he saw some mushrooms growing up from a cracked paving tile. Pale white they were, with speckles, and red ribbed under dark as blood. The dwarf snapped one off and sniffed it. Delicious, he thought, and deadly. There were 7 of mushrooms. Perhaps the 7 were trying to tell him something. He picked them all, snatched glove down from the line, wrapped them carefully, and stuffed them down in his pocket. And this is kind of an interesting parallel. We don't really think, because we often think of like the the Starks, and then sometimes the direct chapter to chapter, but a Tyrion and Sansa little parallel.
Yeah, and we've talked about whether they will meet each other again. Like, could they end up being married at the end of the series? It could happen. I don't think so, but it could happen.
No, I don't think so either.
I can't wait to read Dance. The Tyrion chapters in Dance are so good. They're so good, man. Oh.
1 second here.
Also, there is an interview with George, by the way, where he confirms that Joffrey was the intended target. And the quote is, I think that's what the murderers here were hoping for. The whole realm will see Joffrey choked to death on a piece of pie or something. From an Entertainment Weekly article, there was a commenter under this, playing devil's advocate. They say, playing devil's advocate, this is Gurm talking about the scene in the show. So it could be him talking as an executive producer and not author, George. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I think that this might be all we need to know, that Joffrey was the intended target.
Yeah.
Well,
hey, what if you sent me something here? I'll pull up if
massive.
It's a massive thing. Yeah, I don't know if you had something specific you wanted to pull out of that, but Arya might be coming back making Frey pies.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
You got Joffrey pigeon pie. You got Frey pie.
I think that we should go over this post at some point, like
Okay.
in the next few episodes. It is massive, so I don't think we could just do it on the fly here.
I
But
could read it. I could read it and record it, and
that
then
would be cool.
we could, because we've done that before too. I could probably do that, just so, because it looks pretty big. So and then that
It
way
looks awesome.
you wouldn't have to sit here for half an hour while I read it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can certainly do that. Yeah,
Yeah.
we could do
I
it. We could
think
do it as a
people,
Patreon or something. Yeah.
I feel like we should also to wrap up the purple wedding, just like because this is what this is a write up from a user named Kid President on the A Song of Ice and Fire subreddit. Every now and then on the A Song of Ice and Fire subreddit, you get one of these really cool posts, and usually some pretty cool comments, kind of pushing back or like supporting it with more evidence. And I think this is one that I read a while ago, but I don't remember everything that it goes through.
Is in it?
So yeah, so with this, I think this would be a really good way for us to kind of like tie a knot on the purple wedding as now we go into Tyrion's trial.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea too. Yeah, we could do like a big Patreon, because this is pretty big. But yeah, I mean, again, it's a big theory that ties into like the wine story doesn't add up, right?
Yeah.
Which is, yeah, and then even here, Dontos says early in the chapter, Dontos talks about him choking on the pie
Yeah.
in this chapter.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, he choked on the pie.
But also is George playing with eyewitness testimony here? Because we know eyewitness testimony is notoriously
And you have
bad.
a totally drunk man.
He's hammered. I mean, he is plastered.
But at the same time, he's part of he has to know what's going on. He probably knows everything that's going. Oh, maybe not, because when he kills him, he says that he was going to tell the queen. So he certainly, I don't think, was going to tell the queen, oh, hey, I supplied poison that killed your son.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So maybe
yeah.
not. Yeah. Okay, so there's a really good line here. So towards the end, when Littlefinger is there, why should I wish him dead? Littlefinger shrugged. I had no motive. Besides, I am 1,000 leagues away in the Vale. Always keep your foes confused. If they are never certain who you are or what you want, they cannot know what you are like to do next. Sometimes the best way to baffle them is to make moves that have no purpose or even seem to work against you. Remember that, Sansa, when you come to play the game. Then he says, great, this is just a great thing. He goes on to talk about the Game of Thrones, and then he says, you're safe with me sailing home. Right. But is this going to be Sansa's, like Sansa has those lines from Cersei, it's like, oh, this isn't one of your songs and all of these things. Is this really going to be her, her moment that that Jon has with Maester Aemon? Kill the boy, be a man. It's time you got to be the man. Dany, you need to be the dragon. All of it.
Yeah, definitely.
This is going to be her coming of age quote. Yeah.
Yeah, and also is going to probably be very traumatic for her, and there might be some traits that we see for Sansa that we don't like that she takes from Baelish, because she's learning from Baelish by the end of book 5. I mean, she is solidified playing the game as well. So
yeah, and he also says, you're safe with me sailing home. Well, she's not sailing home. She's going to the Vale. She's not going to Winterfell.
Kind of messing with the reader again on a first time read. You're like,
oh. Exactly. So I still stand by my the way I think the Battle of the Bastards, if it does happen in wins, will be, Jon has to get resurrected. It, could be towards which a lot of people think might be the last chapter of the book, but if we do get a Battle of the Bastards, it's definitely not going to be the last chapter, because it needs to happen beforehand. If it happens and wins, I would have to imagine it would. I just don't see George keeping that storyline going into Dream for Spring. Early in Dream for Spring. It's just, that's too much. Unless he's like splitting the book, because it's way too big.
We also might never get another Jon POV ever again. Like, I mean, he could be alive, but after resurrection, he might be silent. I don't think it's going to be, all sunshine and rainbows with the new Jon Snow. I think you're going to see a vast difference in him. Yeah.
Right. But so I've said this before. I think a cool way to do it is really kind of the Stannis way, where, and I mean, we've seen this. It is something we've seen him do before, right? Battle of the Blackwater. What's happening? Oh my God, it seems like we're lost. Boom, out of nowhere, Tywin Lannister. Okay. The Mance Raider and everything. Oh, okay, you're up there. John's there. He's going to maybe like just try and take Mance out, but and then boom, you hear these gallops. Who is it? Stannis. Okay, everything's totally changed. I think that's what's likely to happen. Now in the show, the way they did it was Sansa was there. She told Jon not to do it, and then the Knights of the Vale show up. I think it's more likely that whether it's young Griff or not, this battle goes on because Jon gets resurrected. Hey, I'm taking an army. It's just going to be him and the wildlings going to take on Ramsay. But you still have the whole angle of Rickon, right? So it could go that route. Right. It could go that route. But I've often thought it's just like in the show where they're about to lose and then suddenly the Knights of the Vale show up, except Jon doesn't know what's going on. Unless it's the other way and it's Rickon and Davos pull out that Gandalf moment.
With unicorns.
Yeah. Which I did and the Manders, which I mean,
the Manderleys are huge in the book. I mean, and they're not really in the show.
They are quite literally huge.
They're huge and my favorite, like sub North, like sub family. Oh God, I love the Manderleys. They're the best.
Otherwise, I just don't know what she's still just like the biggest wild card to me because she's in such a different spot than
she's way more interesting in the books, in my opinion. Yeah. God bless Sophie Turner. I think she did a great job, but I think Sansa is one of the biggest like ball drops, earlier than season 7.
Let's think about a totally different route. What if it's like Faith is squeezing in on? What if like Faith is squeezing in, and then Sansa and the Knights of the Vale show up and take out the Faith? And then it's like, here's our more young and beautiful queen who saved us along with Aegon Targaryen. They've saved the city.
Yeah, dude. I mean, that's the thing. That's on the table. Like that's
because she could go in so many different routes.
And we always talk about Cersei and Tyrion and Jaime, which fine. But like Sansa has some revenge to have herself with Cersei.
Oh yeah. So, she has way more than Arya.
Yeah, and also, by the way, we're talking about lessons learned by Sansa from Peter Baelish. She learned a lot of stuff from Cersei too.
Right. And what's to say she doesn't ally with Tyrion? Like, we saw Tyrion ally with Daenerys. What's to say that Sansa and Tyrion don't ally, and then that's how you could still actually go that route and have the more younger, beautiful queen and the Valonqar prophecy with Tyrion.
Yes.
You could do both.
You absolutely could.
Yeah. Just so wow, so great. Okay, Jimmy. I think that's kind of it for this chapter. Just like you said, it's a short chapter.
It's a bit of a short chapter. I do want to point out one of the things that I saw some people pointing out is that Arya also has a vision, and the vision is a maiden with purple snakes in her hair. And Olenna is obviously messing with Sansa's hairnet, and she's told to wear it repeatedly. So I think the poison coming from the hairnet, I feel, is probably the most likely.
So, I think the 100% that's it.
Yeah. Okay. I forgot about Arya's vision, and I think that's a really cool thing to remember because we get all these prophecies and visions and dreams, and sometimes it actually develops into something really monumental and not kind of like weird happenstance, like the giant stomping through ice castles, which ends up being Robin. So
right.